I am here with Father Séamus Doyle, who has written a wonderful new book. It is First Century Seekers, Eyewitnesses to the Gospel. So tell us about the book.
When it started out as about, 15 years ago or so, I was leading a weekend retreat for divorced, separated, and widowed. Mm-hmm. And the gospel story for that Sunday was the woman at the well. Mm-hmm. And it dawned on me, we don't know anything about her except that she had 5 husbands. Mm-hmm. And the guy she was living with was not her husband, it was somebody else's husband. So I started to think, what happened to her? And it just started to come. She married young. She had 3 children, all of whom died. Her husband got mad at her, said that she was cursed because her parents her parents had her when they were late in life, and therefore she couldn't carry children. So he gave her a bill of divorce. She married a second time, got pregnant again 2 or 3 times. The same thing happened. One of them even lived beyond birth and then died. And her second husband said that her first husband was correct, that it was her parents' fault, that she was crazy and all this stuff. Then she married a 3rd time. This time she fell in love with this guy. He was really a neat guy. And, she wasn't having children, but she loved this man and he loved her. And then he got sick and died. So then, without going into the rest of them, the next thing was, she was in her 20s. She has had 5 husbands, and the women that used to walk with her to the well are now abandoning her. She's left her to walk on her own. And she goes out one day, and here's this guy. He's a Jew, and he's asked her for a cup of water, and she looks at him and says, "Who do you think you are asking me? Because you're a Jew and you're not supposed to talk to me." And they got into a conversation, and he said, if you had asked me, I would have given you living water. And she says, "Give it to me because I am tired of coming out here on my own, and, I don't want to have to do this." Mm-hmm. And then suddenly she realized she's talking theology. Mm-hmm. Is this the right place to go to pray on the mountain? Do you go to Jerusalem? Where do you go? And then she thought, you must be a prophet. You're a holy man. And she took off and to tell the folks. And she began to realize that she was okay. Mm-hmm. But, just before that, she had gone to her rabbi and told him she had stopped believing in God, that she felt more affinity with the desert because it was dry and barren and had, at least every 7 years it could give life, but she couldn't. And so she had stopped believing in God, and her rabbi told her that there was no place for her in the synagogue if she didn't believe in God, and that what she ought to do is stop asking questions about politics and things going on that are the property of men, not women. Mm-hmm. So forget that. So anyway, she met Jesus. She came back and she became his first female apostle. Mm-hmm. And then Jesus came and stayed, and she was shocked when Jesus told her that she had a husband that was not her husband. That's when she realized he was a holy man. And then the end of the story is the guy got a divorce and they got married, and I can't remember whether Jesus came to the wedding or missed it, but anyway. So thereafter, I just, the story of Bartimaeus, the blind man, came up, and then I wrote his story, and so different ones. The one I loved was the David, the widow's son of Nahum. That's all we know about him was they were going out to bury him, and Jesus came up and said, "Young man, I said to you, arise." Mm-hmm. And so with that, I created this story of David. Yeah. and what's running through the whole book it's reconnecting you to different stories that these people, well, obviously they didn't live within 100 miles, with 30 miles of one another. Sure. So they would have known. If this was reality, they would have known one another. Mm-hmm. And then the steward at the wedding feast of Cana, I just loved him. So he's telling the story of the background of what happened, and seeing Mary coming in and telling Jesus, "Look, you have to do something."
And you better listen to this guy.
And you better listen to him. She had command of that house. Uh-huh. Yeah. So and well, when I finished the book, I sent it to a friend of mine in Ireland, and he said, "It's finished, but it's not finished. You need to add something." And that's when I added the little play about the resurrection, about one of them coming in and saying, Mary's gone crazy. She thinks she saw Jesus. And the other guy said, she's not the only one who thinks she saw Jesus. And they're saying, well, we better get out of here before we're all gone nuts. And, and then Peter comes in and says, the body's missing. And that reaffirms that they need to get out before they caught. And then they start meeting once a week. And then they begin to, what they do in the play, what they finish up doing is inviting people to come tell their story. Mm-hmm. So that's where the stories, the importance, when we get together, how did we become Christian? I mean, some of us are born into the Christian community, we're confirmed, baptized, and we never really give it a second thought. What I love baptizing are adults because they think their way through, why am I getting baptized? Why am I getting confirmed? What's the importance of this? And so these people are telling why Jesus was important to them. And there's a sense of humor. The woman that was bent over in the synagogue, and Jesus puts his hand on her, and she's like, "Oh my God, he's putting his hand on me in public, in the synagogue." And then she feels the heat of his hand, and she feels the power of what we would call what they would call today Reiki, what do you call them? Therapy. Mm-hmm. And so those things just run through the stories, and at the end they're kind of pulled together. And it's coming back to my belief that we're at a point where the vast majority of us that are attending church now are in 60s. Mm-hmm. And young people are looking for spirituality, not a church. And maybe it's time we started looking for house churches and home churches where people can sit around a cup of coffee. The whole thing about having a meal came up. And Mary says to Peter, he said more than about do this in memory of having a meal. And he said, what did he say? She said, do this in memory of me, not in memory of what's going to happen to me tomorrow, mm-hmm. which is the death and resurrection, but what's happened to me, which is his life and teaching. Mm-hmm. So when we have the meal, in memory of his life and teachings, when we participate in that meal, we're saying, this is the way I want to live. Mm-hmm. I want to live healing somebody that's hurt, giving somebody a sense of a smile on their face and a sense of wholeness. Right. This is how I want to live. So to me, that's what the Eucharist is about, making a daily or a weekly or a monthly or however one comes to church, to that gathering, saying, I'm committed to this way of life. So that's a lot more than what you asked for.
No, that's great. That's wonderful. Where is this book available? Where can people get this?
Right now, it's available at MULES on David Avenue. It's Barnes & Noble on Veterans Boulevard. It's at the Father Seelos Shrine. And if anybody wants to send a $20 check to St. John's Episcopal Church, I will mail it to them.
Thank you.
Thank
Father
you.
Doyle.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day. All right.